Garcia Pimienta may have just exposed the vulnerabilities in Barcelona's pressing structure in this game right here. Make sure you watch till the end of this video to find out. It was joyful and also a lot of celebrations at the Lewis Company Stadium there in Catalonia, Barcelona, and very emotional for me personally as well as we witnessed the return of Don Pablo Gavi. Join me as we look into this video, the tactical battle between Pimienta and Hansi Flick. And as always, do subscribe to the channel. We upload weekly Barca content. When Barcelona looked to build up from the back, we actually saw that Sevilla was pressing in a lopsided 4-3-3 because they had this player covering Casado, but at the same time, they expected Barcelona to have the ball go to Jules Kounde, where they would look to trap him. But instead, what Barcelona did was they actually split their centre back extremely wide, and therefore it allowed him to go up. Now, the distance here for Barcelona between Peña and Inigo and Cubarsí could have easily been a problem, especially in the case of a press. But Barcelona would advance the ball to Iñaki Peña because they know in order to press them effectively, they would also be stretched. That's why a ball around the corner could have easily been an outlet for Barcelona. And do not forget Jules Kounde also be an option there. But the thing that Barcelona tended to do in the situations right here is having Pedri come back in this option to pick up the ball where they could actually open up this space for Barcelona right here, in which the likes of Ansu and Rafinha can drop into, and that is how Barcelona would get up the field. Inigo in particular were dropping extremely wide, ultimately making Balde a left winger. And this Ansu Fati actually became a midfielder. Is this maybe the gateway or the opening for Hansi Flick to play an extra midfielder, seeing that Barcelona is so overloaded with the midfield? And Pedri took up the responsibility of dropping in between these two players right over here. Or it could be that Cubarsí would went in there and then Jules Kounde would go back in order to create the back three and close the distance a little bit as well. I don't think people realize how important Pedri has become for this Barcelona structure. We just talked about how he dropped into this space, allowing Inigo to go wide, but also the fact that he's in these deeper, wide areas in order to get on the ball and just destroy the teams from over there, right? He would also many times go higher up the pitch in these areas. But I wanted to also talk about Jules Kounde. Jules Kounde was also very good at drawing this player out of position, ultimately allowing Marc Casado to receive the ball. So he was also drawing players out of position, whether it was as a back three or in these areas right here. And Jules Kounde was helping Casado, Rafinha and Lamine Yamal a lot. And I don't think people realize also how great Kounde has been under Mr. Hansi Flick, often actually attacking as a traditional right back and also staying back as a center back. This lopsided front three of Sevilla was actually working against Lamine Yamal at many occasions, but later on in the game, as the game progressed, they couldn't stop him anymore. This lopsided play was actually there to minimize Kounde's involvement in the game so that he cannot really overlap. And Kounde wasn't overlapping that much if we think about it. This left the player, one of the pivots, to sit on Rafinha, and that would open up the centre back to cover with the fullback, actually Lamine Yamal. So this was a great tactic, but I mean, you aren't going to stop Barcelona if you keep Lamine Yamal quiet. There's still Ansu Fati, there's Pedri, there's Casado, there's Lewandowski. There's so many other players. This frame of earlier is actually a very good example as you look at the fact that Rafinha is perfectly covered by one of the pivots while this player is staying deeper to cover Jules Kounde. In this frame right here as well, you can see he refused to actually press him and open up the gap. Therefore, Rafinha is also covered and Lamine Yamal is also covered. So great tactics from Garcia. If you have watched the video up until this point, I want you to rank Pedri among the best midfielders in the world at the moment. And while you're at it, please do subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get this number down to 50% by the end of the year. So thank you very much. As per usual, under Hansi Flick, we saw that Robert Lewandowski was defending with Rafinha, with Ansu and Lamine Yamal coming onto the centre-backs in the build-up phase for Barcelona. But with Kounde pulling up, there was actually an option for the opposition to go over there. And it seems like this is what Flick's going to do. We saw that Quesada was taking up a deeper position, allowing Alejandro Balde now to also go forward. So the opposition was really struggling to find their fullbacks, and therefore they had to go long on many occasions. Now, if this is going to work against the bigger teams that has better players, or finding particular players in these regions and laying the ball off and getting in behind, is going to be a different story for Barcelona altogether. But guys, Garcia Pimienta may have just opened a big can of worms, which could be disastrous for Barcelona. Because what this man did was he had one of his pivots go up extremely high, meaning that Robert Lewandowski had to go back, and that actually made Rafinha sit on a single pivot. So Pedri could easily receive the ball in these areas. But look at this. Any lapse of concentration for Robert Lewandowski, and suddenly Pedri is in a 2-on-1 situation. Inigo is in a 2-on-1 situation, which means Balde cannot maybe or could not go forward in the situation, and therefore they could easily then just find their fullbacks. So this is really a disastrous thing if teams would start to play like this. And look how far Robert Lewandowski ultimately would be away from the goal. So this could be disastrous. And the same over here with Peque now being freed up. Now Ijuke can be in a 2-on-1 situation with Pedrosa against Jules Kounde. So this could be disastrous. Now let me explain. Look at how Rafinha is sitting on the single pivot, right? And look how far back Robert Lewandowski has been dragged by this player. Now instantly, if he moves up a little bit into an area maybe around here, do you think Balde will still be able to go to that fullback? Do you think Pedri will now be a one-on-one situation? It's 2-on-1. And look what Kounde the same. Now that the player is moving up so high, you can say Ijuke and Pedrosa could easily be in a 2-on-1 situation if he goes up. So dragging Robert Lewandowski away from the center is actually opening up Barcelona. And like I'm saying, guys, this could absolutely be catastrophic against teams like Bayern Munich. So our defensive system would definitely have to be looked at by the manager, because we cannot do things like this against bigger teams. It's too open. It's too, how can I say now, it's too wide. There's literally holes in Barcelona, and Garcia Pimienta didn't take advantage of this, because in the first 10 minutes, Barcelona was struggling and they lost control over the game. But as always, guys, please do subscribe to the channel. It's going to help us a lot to get this family to grow bigger. We upload weekly Barcelona content, and the second half tactics will be coming up later tonight.